Greetings and welcome, everybody. It's LionHeart here again. Time for a little story again for you all. Well, we're finally here. It's finally spring. As it's warming up, we're all starting to get out there, do some extra chores around the house. Well, now it's time to delve in a bit of the Greek mythology again and tell about that of a certain demigod hero that once upon a time he had to go through the 10 labors himself. I'm speaking of Hercules, or Heracles, however we pronounce him. The 10 labors of Hercules was another task that the mythical hero Hercules was told to complete by King Odysseus. It started when Hera, or his mother, who loathed Hercules, for he was living an example of her husband's infidelities, drove the hero mad, making him kill his wife Megra and his children. When he realized what he had done, he deeply regretted it and went to the Oracle of Delphi to ask for his penance. There he was told to serve Eustathius, king of Tyrannus, for 12 years. If he completed all the tasks he would be given, he would become immortal. Although Heracles did not like this, that he was considered Eustathius to be a lesser person than himself, he decided to follow the oracle's advice. When he arrived in Tyrannus, Eustathius initially asked Hercules to perform the 10 labors. Labor number 1, the lion lover myself, slaying the Nemerian lion. The Nemerian lion was a terrible monster that roamed the region in Nemea, capturing women as hostages and luring brave men to save them. When someone entered the lion's den and tried to free the woman, she would turn into the lion and eat the warrior alive. When Heracles arrived in town of the region, he met a boy who had asked to kill him and to kill the lion. He also told him that if Heracles killed the lion within a month, a lion would be sacrificed to Zeus. Otherwise, the boy would sacrifice himself. Heracles eventually found the lion roaming and shot many arrows against it. Only then he did realize that the lion's skin was impenetrable and that his arrows would now be of no use. So he decided to follow it to its den. There he blocked one of the two entrances to the cave, entered through the other. Fumbling in the dark, Heracles managed to find the lion. He stunned it with his club and then strangled it with his bare hands. After he had killed it, he thought of taking the impenetrable skin of the lion to use as armor. So he managed to skin it with the help of the goddess Athena, you see behind me, who advised him to use the lion's claw to remove the pelt. Wearing the lion's skin, Heracles entered the city on the 13th day. Upon seeing him, Eustathius was initially horrified, for he feared the lion was roaming the streets of the city. And as a matter of fact, there's a normal actual artwork of him wearing the lion pelt, or the Disney version where it's actually a scarf from the Lion King. So now we get to labor number 2, slaying the Leviathan Hydra. The Leviathan Hydra was a fearsome monster that lived in the swamp lake of Lerna. It had been specifically raised by Hera to kill Hercules. The Hydra had 9 heads, one of which was immortal and the rest were mortal. The swamp was covered in a poisonous mist, so upon his arrival, Hercules put a cloth over his mouth and nose. To lure the Hydra out of his lair, the hero shot flaming arrows, achieving his intent. However, when he chopped one of the Hydra's heads, he realized in horror the 2 heads sprung back. At this point, the hero felt helpless, so he asked for help of his nephew, Iolaus. Iolaus probably advised the goddess Athena, who favored the hero, thought of an idea to put on an action. As soon as Hercules would chop off one of the monster's head, Iolaus would cauterize the stump with a firebrand. The plan was successful. No more heads would appear. Hera, angry that her side was losing the battle, sent a huge crab to distract Hercules, which he simply squashed under his foot. When it was time for the immortal head to be cut off, Hercules took a golden sword of Athena that Athena gave him. Using the same technique, the 2 heroes managed to kill the monster. Before Hercules left, he dipped the arrows with the poisonous blood of the Hydra. one of which the later was used to kill the centaur Odysseus. This will become the Hercules. They later became Hercules' doom, as the hero died due to the short nemesis, which smeared the centaur blood containing some of the Hydra's poison. Get that? Hera turned the slain monster into the constellation of the same name, which she transformed the crab into the constellation Cancer. Euthius did not count the success of killing the Hydra as one of the labors, used as an excuse to the fact that Hercules was helped by Lotus. We'll get to more of that later. So now we get to Labor 3, capturing the Syrian hind. In an effort to mark the end of Hercules' successes, Euthius and Hera decided that the next task Hercules should do would be to capture the Syrian hind. So this is almost like Monster Rancher, only in Grecian form. This was a sacred deer belonging to the goddess Artemis. It had a golden antlers and hooves of bronze. It was believed that it was so fast that it could outrun a flying arrow. Hercules made a real effort to track the animal. When he saw it, he followed it a whole year through the lands of Greece, Thrace, Istria, and the lands of Hyperonus. According to one version of the myth, he managed to capture the hind while it was sleeping. On his way back, Artemis and the twin brother Apollo appeared in front of Hercules. This task was given by Odysseus, thinking that Hercules could cause the anger of the goddess and that she would punish him. However, when she appeared in front of him, Hercules asked for forgiveness, explaining to her that this was part of the penance of killing his wife and children. He also told her that he would in turn return the hind to her as soon as she showed to Euthius. Artemis accepted his apology and then let him go. When he returned to the king's court, Odysseus told Hercules that the animal now belonged to him, not forgetting his promise to the goddess. Hercules tricked Odysseus by telling him that he would take the animal himself and bring it back to the palace. When Odysseus came out to take the deer, the hero let it go, and the animal ran back to Artemis. Hercules simply replied to Odysseus, said that it had not been quick enough. Now we get to number 4, capturing the Umerian boar. The Umerian boar was a giant animal living on Mount Erytheos, which was dedicated to the goddess Artemis as well. Eurystheus thought that capturing this beast would be a perfect task for that the hero would lead to the hero's death. Heracles set forth on his journey to the mountain, but decided to stop by his friend's place, Polytheus, a kind centaur. After eating together, Hercules asked his friend to open a jug of wine they had and attach the other centaurs Polytheus' dwelling. Not knowing what the wine was supposed to be watered down before being consumed, the centaurs quickly became drunk and attacked Hercules. The hero killed most of them by shooting them with the poison arrows against them. The centaurs that remained fled to Trojan's cave. Polytheus did not understand why these arrows were so lethal. Out of curiosity, he picked one up and it fell on his foot and poisoned him as well. Another version had it that the arrows were mistakenly hit Charon as well, though Charon, being immortal, did not die. He would still feel the immeasurable pain, not be able to withstand it. The wise centaur asked to be rid of the pain, exchanging his immortality as well to take place of the Titan Prometheus, who was bound on the top of the mountain, and his liver was being eaten by that of an eagle. Zeus accepted the exchange. Hercules then killed the eagle, and one of his arrows stopped the torture of Chion. If you go back on my podcast, Athena actually told the story about that of that Titan. So now we get to Labor 5, cleaning the stables of Argus. King Argus of Elis had a large number of cattle in the stables. All of them are blessed with the perfect health and immortality, and being so lively created a huge amount of dung. The stables of Argus had never been cleaned for 30 years, and Euthius asked Hercules to clean them within a day. This task was set to sustain Hercules' reputation, as it was quite humiliating. I mean, it's clean janitorial work. When Hercules reached Argus' court, he asked for 1/10 of the cattle if he managed to clean the stables within a day. The king agreed. The hero managed to complete the task by diverting the rivers Alpheus and Pentheus to pass through the stables and wash them out. Argus refused to pay Hercules, and the hero took him to court, where he managed to win his claim, backed by Aegeus' son Pentheus. However, Pentheus and Hercules were both banished by Argus before the court had ruled. Furious, so now I lost it. The type. So yeah, so when Anthony occurred, he asked for the 10th cattle to be okay. When Hercules reached his court, he asked the 10th of the cattle to be. He managed to clean the stables in a day. The king agreed. The hero managed to complete the task by diverting the rivers. Although Hercules was successful, Aegeus did not count this as a success, saying it was the rivers that had done the work for him, and that he accepted payment for it. So now we get to 6, slaying the Syrian birds. Aegeus' next task to Hercules was to kill the Syrian birds, large flying monsters that ate humans with their bronze beaks. Their wings were made of metallic feathers that could be thrown against their prey, while their dung was highly poisonous. They belonged to the god of war Ares, and lived in the area of Lake Cynthilia, and they were destroyed by the surrounding area of the towns. Hercules was able to go deep into the swamp as he would eventually drown. It was unable to go into the deep in the swamp as he would eventually drown. Athena helped him by providing him with a rattle. The sound of the rattle scared the birds and made them fly away from their hiding place. While in the air, they were easy target for Hercules, who shot many of them down with the poisonous arrows. The remaining birds flew away to plague the other lands. In fact, they were later encouraged by the Argonauts. Now we get to number 7, capturing the Cretan bull. The 7th task that Eurystheus gave to Hercules was to capture the Cretan bull. This was a legendary creature that wreaked havoc on the island Crete, destroying crops and land. After getting permission from King Minos, Hercules managed to catch the bull with his bare hands and send it back to Eurystheus' court. Upon seeing the creatures, Eurystheus hid it in his jar and decided to sacrifice the animal to Hera. The goddess rejected the offer, as this would glorify Hercules' success even more. Instead, the animal was left there and went to the area marathon, getting the name of Marathonian bull. It was later caught by Theseus and sacrificed to Athena and Apollo. Now we get to number 8, stealing the mares of Demeas. The mares of Demeas were fearsome animals that had been trained to eat human flesh. They were owned by Demeas, king of Thrace. It was believed that due to their unnatural diet, the horses were seized with madness, uncontrollable, and sometimes they even breathed fire. According to one source, Hercules brought a number of young men with him to help him with the task. After they managed to steal the animals, they were all chased by Demeas and his army. Hercules told his companion Arbutus to take care of the horses while he was fighting Demeas. Upon his return, Hercules realized that Arbutus was devoured by the mares. Overcome with anger, Hercules fed Demeas to his own horses, and later was found the city of Abra in memory as his friend. After the horses were fed, they became calm, and Hercules seized the opportunity to bind their mouths shut. He brought them back to Theseus, who later sacrificed them to Hera to let them roam free, as they now have been permanently calm. For number 9, stealing the girdle of Hippolyta. Adamant, the daughter of Eurystheus, learned that Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons, had been given a girdle as a gift from her father Ares, and wanted it for herself. So, Eurystheus decided to make this time the 9th labor that Hercules would have to complete. Hercules took some friends with him and set sail to reach Themyscira, where the Amazons dwelled. On their way there, they stopped stopped at the island of Pyros, where the sons of King Minos and Crete killed two of Hercules' friends. Furious, Hercules killed the sons of Minos and demanded that the two of the inhabitants replace their dead comrades. Thus, two of Minos' grandsons joined the band, and they set sail again. After a brief stop at the court of Lagos, a friend of Hercules eventually reached the land of the Amazons. Hippolyta had heard of the glorious feats that Hercules had performed, and impressed, she immediately agreed to give her a girdle. Hercules asked her to have lunch with her on the ship, and Hippolyta eagerly followed. At the same time, however, a disguised Hera went to the Amazons and started spreading rumors that Hercules was wanting to abduct their queen. The Amazons decided to confront Hercules and rowed towards the ship. Upon seeing them, Hercules thought that this had all been set up by Hippolyta and said that she had no intention of handing over the girl, so he killed her and took the belt and sailed back to Tyrannus. Well, mission accomplished either way. Number 10, stealing the cattle of Geryon. The 10th labor of Hercules was to steal the cattle of Geryon, who lived on the island of Erythea. Somewhere in the west, Hercules went on this quest, and he first at the cross of the desert of Libya. At some point, having been so frustrated with the heat, he shot an arrow in the sun. Helios, the sun god, was so impressed by Hercules' courage, he decided to help him by offering his own golden chariot, which he sailed across the sea from west to east every night. Hercules hopped on the chariot and reached to Erythea overnight. I wish I could have that kind of luck in a ride. There, his first obstacle was the two-headed dog Orpheus, brother of Cerberus, the three-headed dog and guardian of the underworld. One blow with Hercules' club was enough to kill Orpheus. Urian, the herdsman, heard that what happened, and when he tried to confront Hercules, he killed the same way. Urian immediately grabbed the three shields and the three spears while using the three helmets and attacked the hero. However, a powerful shot from an arrow from Hercules' bow was enough to pierce Gaius' forehead and sent him to his demise. Bringing the cattle back to Tyrannus after its task to own, according to the Roman version of the story, Hercules took the road over to the Aventine Hill, where Rome would later be built on. There, a giant named Cacus stole some of the cattle, but they were later retrieved, calling out the animals remaining in the possession of Hercules. As an extra obstacle, Hera was sent a gadfly to irritate the animals and scatter them. Hercules managed to get them back within a year before he reached Tyrannus, though Hera caused a flood that raised the level of a river so much that it could not be crossed. So Hercules started piling stones into the river and bridged the two river banks, and he eventually reached to Tyrannus, where the cattle were sacrificed to the goddess. It's just the old saying that no matter what obstacle you come across, you have to improvise. Upon finishing the 10th labor, Theseus told Hercules that he considered two labors invalid. Kind of like a game show. I'm sorry, the judges can't say that answer is correct. The Hydra was not slain by Hercules alone. He was helped by Iolaus, and while he accepted payment for cleaning the Argive stables, so the two labors could not be completed. So those 10 labors now go to that 12. So number 11. Stealing the apples from the garden of Hercules. The Hercules were nymphs of the sunset that tended the garden somewhere in the far western corner of the world. Hercules managed to capture the old man in the sea, a shape-shifting sea deity, in order to find the exact location of the garden. During his quest, Hercules also confronted the half-giant Antaeus, who was invincible by drawing power from Mother Gaia, spirit of Earth. As long as he touched it, to kill him, Hercules held him so high so his feet couldn't touch the ground, and crushed him with his hands. There were two versions of how Hercules managed to acquire the apples. One version has it that he reached the Hesperian garden, where he killed Landon, the dragon guardian of the apples. and took the apples. According to another version, he came across Atlas, the Titan god who was condemned to holding the heavens over his shoulders. Atlas, who was also the father of Hephaestus, and thus had access to the garden at any time, Hercules persuaded Atlas to change places for a while, so Atlas could fetch some of the apples. Atlas agreed indeed to take some of the apples. Hey, Sarah. However, on his return, he did not want to take the heavens back on his shoulders. Hercules tricked him. He said he'd be willing to keep the heavens if he wanted to adjust his cloak first. Atlas agreed to take the heavens back momentarily, but Hercules walked away with the apples on him. Don't worry, folks. Jason helps him become a statue permanently later on. I told that story a little while back. So now we come to the 12th and final labor, capturing Cerberus, guardian of the underworld. The final labor that Hercules had to complete was to capture Cerberus, the three-headed dog and the guardian of the underworld. Before going to the underworld, Hercules decided to be initiated in the Erythrian mysteries so that he'd be taught on how to travel alive from the world to the living in the realm of the dead and vice versa. Because if you're going to the underworld, even if you're going to be just visiting on like the River Styx, they usually have to put some ash on your forehead because it's almost like, think of it like Monopoly. You're just visiting. You're not dead yet. The goddess Hydra also helped him with negotiating with Charon, the boatman, the guide of the souls of the river toward the underworld. Once he reached the underworld, he met Theseus and Perseus, the two heroes that had been incarcerated in the underworld by Hades for attempting to steal Persephone. According to one version of the story, snakes coiled around their legs and turned them to stone. A different version is that the god of the underworld feigned hospitality and invited him to a feast. However, the chairs in which the heroes were seated magically changed for forgetfulness, thus keep them there. Hercules pulled Theseus from the chair, managing to save him. However, part of his thigh was stuck to it, thus preventing an explanation of supposedly the lean thighs of Athenians. When the hero tried to save Perseus, though, the earth started trembling. It seems that because he decided Persephone for himself, it was so insulting that he was not allowed to leave. Hercules found Hades and asked him to take Cerberus to the surface. The god agreed on the condition that no weapon should be used to achieve it. Hercules managed to subdue the dog with his hands and brought him back to Turnus. Athreus fled in horror into his jar and asked that Hercules to take the monster back to the underworld and release him from any of the other labors. After the 12 labors were complete, Hercules decided to join Jason and Argonauts in their attempt to obtain the Golden Fleece. And that's, of course, another story that I can tell another time if you're ever interested. But those were the 12 labors of Hercules, and I apologize, that I lost my place there at that one point. I always kind of geeked out that the fact that he was able to wash the stables with the river. But those were the 12 labors, indeed. It showed how much the fact that Hercules is a mighty warrior, and the fact that no matter what the task is, that if he can do that, that we can set up to any challenge that come across us. So that was it, and I hope that as you go on this year, that any challenge you come across, that don't give up, that if Hercules can do it, so can you. With that, I will bid you all adieu. So, merry meet, merry parts, and merry meet again. Blessed be.